Stories that define the day from every corner of the planet. I'm Arjun Samar Mahindran, and this is the Tuesday edition of the World Report. India and the US have agreed to a trade deal under which Washington will slash its tariffs on Indian goods to 18% from the current 50% in exchange for New Delhi halting Russian oil purchases and lowering trade barriers, US President Donald Trump has said. The American leader has also announced the deal on social media following a call with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, noting that India would now buy oil from the US and potentially Venezuela at that. PM Modi said he was delighted that Made in India products will now have a reduced tariff of 18%. The Prime Minister said that when two large economies in the world's largest democracies work together, it benefits people and unlocks immense opportunities for mutually beneficial cooperation. My colleague Kate Fisher gets you the latest from Washington, D.C. But first, let's listen in to what PM Modi said just a few moments ago.
नमस्ते प्रधानमंत्री जी यूएस डील की शुभकामनाएं
सर यूएस डील
US President Donald Trump broke news of the deal on social media following a phone call with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Tariffs on Indian products will drop from 25 to 18%, while the president said that US goods will enter India tariff-free. But he didn't specify when this would start. Indeed, the post was scant on detail, and the White House has not followed up with more. The breakthrough seems to have come with Prime Minister Modi's promise to stop buying Russian oil and instead buy much more from the US or, as Donald Trump suggested, also from Venezuela. The president says that Mr. Modi has also committed to, quote, buy American, and that was in full capital letters, along with an additional $500 billion to be spent on US energy, technology, agriculture and coal. Although in his post, the Prime Minister made no mention of either the oil or the extra investment. Now, previous trade deals with other major Asian trading partners like Japan and South Korea have included commitments to invest hundreds of billions of dollars into US industries. But the India announcement did not mention any specific investments. It will be a tall task for India to end its import of Russian oil, given that it makes up more than a third of India's overall oil imports. But President Trump said that Prime Minister Modi had agreed to replace India's Russian crude imports with oil from Venezuela and the US.
And I'm now joined by my colleague Vishal Vivek, who will give us the lowdown of the other pivotal deals New Delhi has inked in the recent past. Over to you, Vishal.
There are several deals that India has signed in the last 12 months or so. We'll look at some of the major ones right now. The first one, of course, is the big India-UK trade deal. What does it entail? It entails duty-free access, job opportunities, cheap British car and whiskey, plus big agriculture and farmer benefits. These are some of the takeaways of the big India-UK deal. Moving on, we have the India-Oman Economic Partnership Agreement. This is also a historic deal. Under this, there will be a boost to bilateral trade, generate employment, and also there will be strengthening of the supply chains that dominate the globe. So these are some of the highlights of this deal, and the all-important India-New Zealand free trade agreement. This is also a huge deal because there had been many negotiations. Finally, we have this deal, and this goes on to show that the elimination of duty on 100% of Indian exports would be there, and also there would be at least $20 billion worth of investment in the next 15 years. Finally, we have the India-EU FTA, which determines that at least $572 billion of boost will be there to the Indian pharma industry, and also the fact that there will be a deeper global supply chain cooperation, which signifies India's presence on the global stage. And then the India-US trade deal that we have just been talking about in the last 12 hours or so. We will have more details in the upcoming hours, but so far this is a historic moment. These last 12 months or so have signified that India is ready to take on many deals, so we'll have more of that in the near future.
Now we shift our focus to South Asia, where a series of guns attacks and multiple suicide bombings purported to be the deadliest in decades have killed dozens in Pakistan's Balochistan over the last weekend. Now the Pakistani military says that its forces have responded to the violence. Here's a report.
The latest chapter in a long, bitter struggle over identity, resources and control. A struggle that continues to shape the fate of this vast, volatile region known as Balochistan. The Balochistan Liberation Army rebel group has claimed that its attacks across the restive province killed more than 200 personnel from the Pakistan Army, Police and Frontier Corps. These claims have not been independently verified, but Balochistan's Chief Minister Sarfraz Bukti said 17 law enforcement personnel and 31 civilians were killed in the attacks, adding that security forces killed 145 rebels in a 40-hour battle. The attacks signal a sharp uptick in violence in the impoverished yet resource-rich province, where Islamabad has faced a long-running ethnic insurgency for decades. The BLA alleges that Pakistan's federal authorities exploit Balochistan's vast mineral wealth, while local communities see little benefit in return. Activists in the province also accuse security forces of carrying out enforced disappearance, a charge Islamabad firmly denies.
There has been unprecedented protests also by civilians against enforced disappearances. One of the human rights organizations locally in Pakistan claim that 86 innocent Baloch civilians have met enforced disappearance, and that means that the Pakistani military have illegally abducted them.
Balochistan makes up nearly 44% of Pakistan's land mass, stretching along sensitive borders with Iran and Afghanistan. Despite its size, it's home to only about 5% of the country's population of more than 240 million. The province is considered Pakistan's most resource-rich region, with significant reserves of natural gas and minerals. Tensions between Baloch groups and the Pakistani state date back to 1948, when an insurgency seeking greater autonomy and for some an independent Baloch homeland began. India has rejected Pakistan's baseless allegations linking the recent attacks in Balochistan to New Delhi. The Foreign Ministry said the claims are nothing but Islamabad's usual tactics to deflect attention from its own internal failings. The situation on the ground remains unclear amid competing narratives, with the Pakistan Army's heavy losses explaining the silence of the Pakistani government and the military. With Aditya Raj Kaul and Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Over in Eurasia, Russian drones targeted the city of Cherkasy in central Ukraine in overnight attacks. Regional administration had said 4 people were injured in these Russian strikes. The state emergency services, meanwhile, reported that civilian infrastructure, houses and even cars were damaged as a result of this strike. Ukraine's Air Force says that Russia launched 1 ballistic missile and 171 long-range drones just overnight. They also said the country's air defenses destroyed or intercepted 157 out of this 171 drones. The Russian attack, by the way, came hours after President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that the next round of peace talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations will take place on Wednesday and Thursday in UAE in the presence of negotiators from Washington as well. Over in Latin America, Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez hosted a US diplomat on Monday, almost 1 month after the military operation which deposed and captured former leader Nicolas Maduro. Now, state television aired footage of the meeting between US Charge d'Affaires Laura Dogu and Venezuelan officials, including Rodriguez herself, inside the presidential palace in Caracas. Now, the meeting took place 2 days after Dogu, who has previously served as ambassador to countries such as Nicaragua and the Honduras, arrived with a view to reopening the American diplomatic mission after 7 long years of severed ties. We get you the Venezuelan foreign minister's reaction on this.
Bueno, de la agenda común, sobre todo en los temas energéticos, temas comerciales, temas políticos, temas económicos y la instalación tanto en Venezuela de la representación diplomática del gobierno de los Estados Unidos, que estará encabezada por la señora Laura Dogu, como la instalación en Washington de nuestra representación diplomática, que la presidenta encargada ha designado a nuestro embajador Félix Plasencia como representante diplomático ante los Estados Unidos y estará instalándose con su equipo en los próximos días.
We shift our focus back to Asia, where China has released aerial footage of Hongguan Dao, also known as the Scarborough Shoal, filmed by fighter jets this time during recent patrols as military increases its presence in the disputed waters. This follows recent US-Philippine drills in the same area. Now, footage released on Saturday, as you see on your television sets right there, shows the jets flying in formation over the small island. The patrols followed a US-Philippines exercise held just last week, marking the 11th joint drill between the two allies since 2023 November, in an area of the South China Sea claimed by the Philippines and China both. Meanwhile, Manila maintains that the shoal, the Scarborough Shoal, located approximately 200 kilometers from its coast, is within its sovereign maritime entitlements. A 2016 international tribunal in The Hague, nonetheless, found against China's claims to historic rights. Over in the Middle East, Israeli jets struck villages in southern Lebanon on Monday, targeting what the military said was military infrastructure belonging to the Hezbollah militant group this time. The strikes on at least 3 provinces come following a warning from the Israeli military's Arabic spokesperson, Avishai Andre, for residents to flee these 3 areas. No casualties were immediately reported. The building collapsed in a cloud of smoke, as you see right there, before paramedics and even civil defense workers rushed to the scene to put out the fire and rummage through the rubble. Shrapnel of the projectile could be seen scattered in the vicinity of the attack. Stay with the region, where medical evacuees from Gaza finally entered Egypt on Monday as the Rafah border crossing reopened. It marked a key step in the Israel-Hamas ceasefire, but a mostly symbolic one. Now, this because as few people will only be allowed to travel in either direction and no goods will pass through. Ambulances waited for hours together at the border before being able to ferry patients across after sunset. Egypt's state-run Al Qahira news satellite television channel has showed. The crossing had been closed since Israeli troops seized it in May 2024. Now, about 20,000 Palestinian children and adults alike needing medical care hope to leave the devastated territory via the Rafah crossing. President of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and Vice President, Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, inaugurated the World Laureate Summit in Dubai this Sunday. The event represents the world's largest gathering of Nobel laureates and recipients of the prestigious scientific honors, alongside heads of leading research institutions as well. Footage shows officials and scientists attending various sessions together. Now, according to the Emirates News Agency, the summit runs alongside the World Government Summit, or the WGS 2026, which of course takes place between the 3rd and the 5th of February. At the start of 2026 Winter Olympics, coloured lights are being projected onto historic buildings, and light installations are in fact decorating the streets. Milan is hosting the Olympics together with Cortina. Meanwhile, Milan's Olympic Village, the famed Olympic Village, is coming back to life, with the first athletes already moving into the buildings built specifically for the Olympic Games. The village also, by the way, features several spaces designed for guests' relaxation and well-being. This includes a gym, a video game area, a bar, makeup areas, and of course, a large canteen. Well, with that, it's time we step into a short break. Much more lined up on the other side. Don't you go anywhere. And finally, now my colleague Mayank gets you the movers, shakers, and of course, the newsmakers from the recently concluded Grammys 2026. Here's a report.
It's music's biggest night, the 68th Annual Grammy Awards, and the red carpet heat was pretty high, with pop music's biggest names strutting their most stylish self forward. Grammys are all about go big or go home. Mistress of Mayhem Lady Gaga wore not one, but three bold and gothic looks. A black gown covered in feathers, an archival Alexander McQueen piece with a giant cage-like headgear, and later a sharp black Chinese collar look designed by McQueen for the house of Givenchy. Gaga's prodigy, Chapel Roan, rocked a risque look with a draped wine-collared dress literally hanging off her body. Winner of Best New Artist Olivia Dean looked effortlessly dreamy in a black and white Chanel gown. And man-child hitmaker Sabrina Carpenter kept it pretty pleased in a shimmering Valentino. Recipient of Album of the Year, Bad Bunny wore the first ever Schiaparelli menswear look. And it wasn't just pretty clothes and sharp tuxes. Fashion was also political, as it should be. Multiple artists wore the ICE out pin, voicing their protest against the ICE raids taking place in the US, reminding the world that art and its platform must speak for all. All over this year's Grammy was a knockout when it came to bold fashion and strong style statements. After all, it's the Grammys. Go big or go home.
Well, that's all the updates we have for you this Tuesday. Take care and have a wonderful day.